The massive alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a silver needle against the black canvas of space. Inside the United Nations Space Command Center, screens flickered with data as scientists and military personnel rushed around with an unusual sense of urgency. This was humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization, and no one knew quite what to expect. Captain Tom Baker stood straight-backed before the main viewing screen, his weathered face showing no emotion despite the historic moment. At 52 years old, he had seen plenty during his time in the Space Force, but nothing like this. "They're sending another message, sir," reported Officer Wilson from her communication station. Her fingers flew across the holographic controls as she worked to decode the incoming transmission. The alien message appeared on the main screen in perfectly translated English. "Your atmosphere is highly toxic. For your safety, we request a meeting in our controlled environment chamber." Baker frowned. "Toxic? Our atmosphere is perfectly breathable." Dr. Adams, the lead xenobiologist, stepped forward. "Sir, they might have different breathing requirements than us. What's safe for humans might be dangerous for them. Send them our acceptance," Baker ordered. Within hours, a small shuttle departed from the alien mothership and landed at the designated meeting point outside the command center. The first meeting was nothing like anyone had expected. The aliens, calling themselves the Galactic Council representatives, emerged from their shuttle wearing what looked like heavy hazmat suits. Their forms were humanoid but taller and more slender than the average human. Through their transparent face shields, their blue-tinted skin and large, dark eyes were clearly visible. The lead alien, who introduced himself as Representative Gray, spoke through a translation device. "We are shocked to find intelligent life on this planet. According to our classifications, Earth is a Class 13 Deathworld in the blue category. The oxygen levels here are lethal to most spacefaring species." The human delegation exchanged confused looks. Dr. Adams spoke up. "Our atmosphere is approximately 21% oxygen. This is what we evolved to breathe." The aliens' reaction was immediate and dramatic. They took several steps back, their suit-covered hands making warning gestures. 21%. Representative Gray's voice carried clear alarm. "The standard oxygen level for civilized worlds is between 5% and 8%. Anything above 15% is considered extremely hazardous." Baker couldn't help but smile. "Yet here we are, breathing it just fine. In fact, we need this level of oxygen to survive." The alien delegation huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language before Gray turned back to the humans. "This is unprecedented. No known species has evolved to survive such high oxygen concentrations. Your bodies must have remarkable oxidation resistance." "We just call it breathing," Baker replied simply. The meeting continued for several hours as both sides shared basic information about their societies. The humans learned that the Galactic Council governed thousands of species across the galaxy, but none had evolved on a planet like Earth. Most alien worlds had thinner atmospheres with much lower oxygen levels. "This explains much about your physiology," Gray said, studying the humans through his face shield. "Your endurance, your cellular repair capabilities, your resistance to radiation. These are all adaptations to your highly oxidizing environment. What we consider a deadly poison, your bodies use as fuel." Before leaving, the council representatives made an unexpected announcement. "We must reclassify your world," Gray stated. "Earth is not just a death world. It is a cradle of strength. Your species has evolved in conditions that would kill most forms of advanced life. This makes you unique." As the alien shuttle departed, Baker turned to Dr. Adams. "What do you make of all this?" The scientist was already reviewing the data they had received. "It's fascinating. We've always wondered if we were alone in the universe, only to find out that we're not just not alone. We're exceptional. Our normal is their impossible." Baker watched the alien mothership through the window. "Something tells me this is just the beginning." He had no idea how right he was. Humanity's ability to survive in high-oxygen environments would soon prove to be more valuable than anyone could have imagined, and Earth's place in the galactic community was about to change forever. The next morning, as Baker filed his report, a new emergency transmission would arrive that would put humanity's unique capabilities to the test. But for now, he allowed himself a moment to appreciate the irony. Humans had spent centuries wondering what made them special in the universe, only to discover it was something as simple as breathing. The emergency alert blared through the Space Command Center at exactly 3:47 a.m. Earth time. Captain Baker rushed into the control room, still adjusting his uniform. The main screen showed a blinking red dot in a distant star system. "Report," he ordered, taking his position at the command station. Officer Wilson looked up from her screen, her face pale. "Sir, we're picking up a distress signal from a Council medical transport. They crashed on planet B447 during a standard supply run." Dr. Adams, who had been working late, pulled up the planet's data. His eyes widened as he read the information. "This is interesting. B447 has an oxygen level of 23%, even higher than Earth's." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. A holographic image appeared above the central table, showing Representative Gray in his protective suit. "Captain Baker, we need humanity's help. The crash survivors are trapped in their sealed chambers, but their life support systems are failing. None of our rescue teams can survive in that environment." Baker studied the planet's details. Besides the high oxygen levels, B447 had gravity similar to Earth's and a breathable atmosphere. For humans, it would be like taking a walk in the park, maybe a little more invigorating than usual, but nothing dangerous. "How many survivors?" Baker asked. 12 crew members," Gray replied. "They have approximately 72 hours of air left in their protective systems. After that." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Baker straightened his shoulders. "We'll help. Give us the coordinates." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Baker assembled a rescue team of 4. Himself, Lieutenant Roberts, a seasoned rescue specialist, Medic Turner, and Engineer Wells. They were the best at what they did. And more importantly, they were used to working in Earth's toxic atmosphere. The Council provided them with a fast ship, modified to accommodate human oxygen requirements. As they prepared for launch, other alien species watched in amazement as the humans walked around without protective gear, breathing what they considered to be deadly air. "I still can't believe you can survive in such conditions," one alien technician said through their translator, keeping a safe distance. Wells, the engineer, just shrugged as he checked their equipment. "And I can't believe you folks think this is dangerous. Wait until you hear about the time I went mountain climbing." The journey to B447 took 18 hours. As they approached the planet, they could see why it was called a blue Deathworld. The atmosphere had a rich azure tint, similar to Earth's but more intense. Atmospheric readings confirmed 23% oxygen content. Turner reported from her station. "The air is actually cleaner than Earth's. No pollutants, no artificial contaminants. For us, it's paradise," Roberts commented. "For them, it's certain death." Their ship entered the atmosphere smoothly. Through the viewport, they could see a landscape that looked surprisingly Earth-like. Vast forests of blue-tinted vegetation, rolling hills, and in the distance, the gleaming wreck of the medical transport. "Look at the size of those trees," Wells whispered in awe. "The extra oxygen must supercharge their growth." Baker brought them in for a landing near the crash site. As they prepared to exit, they received one last transmission from Representative Gray. "Please be careful," he warned. "The high oxygen levels mean the local wildlife may be more robust than what you're used to." Baker acknowledged the warning, but he couldn't help smiling. Humanity had evolved on a planet that the rest of the galaxy considered lethal. Whatever B447 had in store for them, they could handle it. As the airlock opened, they took their first breath of the planet's air. It felt rich and invigorating, like standing on a mountaintop on a clear day. Their monitors showed all normal readings, for humans, at least. "Right," Baker said, checking his rescue gear. "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do." They stepped out onto the blue soil of B-447, ready to begin their mission. What they didn't know was that the crashed ship was just the beginning of their challenges. The forest around them held secrets that would test even humanity's remarkable adaptations, and time was running out for the survivors. The blue forest of B-447 towered above the human rescue team. The trees here were enormous, reaching heights of over 400 feet. In the oxygen-rich atmosphere, even the smallest plants grew to incredible sizes. Fern-like plants as tall as houses lined their path to the crashed ship. "Everyone stay alert," Baker ordered, leading the way through the dense undergrowth. "Remember, everything here evolved in high oxygen. That means stronger, faster, bigger." Turner checked her medical scanner as they walked. "Our blood oxygen levels are reading slightly higher than normal, but nothing dangerous. If anything, we're performing better than usual." A distant roar echoed through the forest, making them pause. It sounded like nothing they had ever heard on Earth. "Well, that's encouraging," Wells muttered, gripping his toolkit tighter. Roberts, walking point, held up his hand for silence. Ahead of them, something massive moved through the trees. They caught glimpses of a creature that looked like a cross between an earth deer and an elephant, but with blue-tinted skin. It walked past without noticing them, each step shaking the ground. "The size of that thing," Turner whispered after it passed. "The extra oxygen must support larger body masses." "Focus," Baker reminded them. "We've got 12 people counting on us." They reached the crash site after 20 minutes of careful hiking. The medical transport had carved a long trench through the forest before coming to rest against a hillside. Its silver hull was dented but largely intact. "Life signs are stable," Turner reported, scanning the ship. "They're all in the sealed emergency chambers, but oxygen levels inside those chambers are dropping faster than expected." Wells studied the ship's exterior. Main power's dead. They're running on backup systems, and those weren't designed for long-term use. Baker opened a comm channel to the survivors. "This is Captain Baker of the Earth Rescue Team. Can anyone respond?" Static crackled. Then a voice came through, distorted but understandable. "Thank the stars. This is Dr. Green. We thought no one could reach us in this atmosphere." "We're from Earth," Baker explained. "This atmosphere is normal for us. What's your situation?" 9 of us are in the main emergency chamber. 3 others are trapped in a secondary chamber near the engine room. Our air recyclers are failing. We have maybe 40 hours left." Wells was already working on accessing the ship's systems. "Captain, we've got a problem. The crash damaged the hull seals. Even if we restore power, we can't pressurize the corridors to their normal low oxygen levels. Which means we can't simply walk them out," Roberts added. "The moment they leave those chambers, they'll be exposed to the toxic atmosphere." Baker thought for a moment. "Dr. Green, do you have any portable life support suits?" 4 suits, came the reply. "But they're in the storage bay, and we can't reach them without going through the oxygen-rich sections." "Leave that to us," Baker said. He turned to his team. "Here's the plan. Wells, you and Turner head to the engine room chamber. Get those 3 survivors stable. Roberts, you're with me. We'll find those suits and start evacuating the main chamber." The team split up. Baker and Roberts made their way through the crashed ship's corridors. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow over everything. The hull breach had let in the planet's atmosphere, which felt refreshing to the humans, but would kill the aliens in seconds. They found the storage bay partially crushed by the impact. The life support suits were there, but buried under fallen equipment. "This could take hours," Roberts said, looking at the mess. "Then we better start now." Baker activated his comm. "Wells, Turner, what's your status?" "We've reached the engine room survivors," Turner reported. "But sir, you need to see this. The local wildlife isn't just interested in the ship. They're trying to get in. As if to confirm her words, a loud bang echoed through the ship. Something very large and very strong was testing the hull's strength. Baker looked at Roberts. Looks like we've got a race on our hands. We need those suits before either the air runs out or something decides to make this ship its new home. The ship shuddered again, and somewhere in the forest, that strange roar sounded closer than before. The mission had just become a lot more complicated, and time was not on their side. Another crash shook the damaged ship. Baker and Roberts worked faster, moving fallen equipment to reach the life support suits. Sweat dripped from their faces in the oxygen-rich atmosphere that made every movement more energetic than usual. "Got one," Roberts called out, pulling a silver suit free from the wreckage. The suit looked like a more advanced version of old Earth spacesuits, designed to keep low oxygen environments inside while keeping the toxic, to aliens, high oxygen air out. Baker's comm unit crackled. "Captain." It was Turner's voice, urgent. "Those creatures are getting more aggressive. We've got at least 3 large predators circling the ship." Through the ship's broken windows, Baker could see massive shapes moving in the blue-tinted forest. They looked like Earth tigers, but twice the size, with armored scales instead of fur. The extra oxygen had created monsters. "How are the survivors in the engine room?" Baker asked, freeing a second suit. "Stable for now," Turner replied. "But their chamber's power is dropping faster than the main one. Wells is trying to reroute some systems." A loud screech from outside made everyone freeze. One of the creatures had climbed onto the ship's hull, its claws making horrible sounds against the metal. Through a crack in the ceiling, Baker could see its eye. Bright yellow and intelligent, easily the size of his fist. "It's hunting us," Roberts whispered. "They can smell us through the hull breach." "Keep working," Baker ordered. They had found 3 suits now, just one more to go. The ship's internal communications suddenly activated. "Earth team." It was Dr. Green from the main chamber. "Our oxygen recycling unit just failed completely. We're down to emergency reserves." Wells' voice joined the conversation. "Captain, I've got bad news. These creatures aren't just random predators. They're pack hunters, and they're working together to find a way in. I've seen at least 5 different species out there, all cooperating." Baker pulled the last suit free. "Roberts, help me get these to the main chamber." "Wells, Turner, how long can you hold your position?" "Maybe 20 minutes, Turner replied. "After that, either the chamber fails or these things find a way in. They're smarter than they look." Baker and Roberts quickly moved through the ship's corridors, carrying the precious suits. The predators outside seemed to sense their movement, following them with heavy footsteps that shook the walls. They reached the main chamber where 9 aliens waited in their rapidly failing sanctuary. Through the chamber's window, Baker could see their blue-skinned forms huddled together, watching the humans with a mixture of fear and hope. "Dr. Green," Baker activated the chamber's comm. "We have 4 suits. We need to prioritize who goes first." "Our engineer and pilot must go," Green replied. "They can help repair the backup ship once we reach it. The rest of us will wait." Baker nodded. "We'll need to make multiple trips. Roberts, get the first group suited up. I'll clear a path to the exit." Another crash rocked the ship. This time, metal screamed as something finally broke through the hull somewhere behind them. "They're in." Turner's voice was sharp. "Captain, we need to move now. The engine room chamber won't hold much longer." Baker made a quick decision. "Wells, Turner, get your people to the backup ship. We'll handle things here." "But sir," "That's an order." Baker watched as Roberts helped the first group of aliens into their suits. The process was slow. Each suit had to be carefully sealed, and its oxygen levels set precisely. Too much or too little could be fatal. Outside the chamber, something large moved in the shadows of the corridor. The predators had found them. Baker raised his weapon, designed for stunning large animals. "Roberts, keep working. I'll hold them off." A massive head emerged from the darkness, scaled, armored, with rows of teeth evolved for the high oxygen environment that made everything on this planet a potential monster. Baker took aim, knowing he faced a creature that had evolved in conditions that even Earth's most dangerous predators would find extreme. But he also knew something else. Humans had evolved to be survivors, to adapt, to overcome. The creature charged, and Baker stood his ground. The real fight for survival on this deadly paradise was about to begin. The creature lunged at Baker, its massive jaws snapping at the air where he had stood a split second before. He rolled to the side, firing his stun weapon. The blue energy blast hit the predator's scaled hide, making it stumble but not fall. "These things are tough," Baker shouted, backing away to draw the creature from the chamber entrance. "How's it going with the suits, Roberts?" "First two are suited up," Roberts called back, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Working on the third now." The ship's corridor echoed with more growls as two more predators joined the first. They moved with frightening intelligence, trying to circle around Baker. Their armored scales gleamed in the emergency lights, and their yellow eyes tracked his every movement. His comm unit crackled. "Captain," it was Turner, "we've got the engine room survivors to the backup ship, coming back to help." Negative. Baker fired another stun blast, hitting one creature in the eye. It roared in pain and backed away. "Get those people safe and prepped for more. We'll handle things here." Inside the main chamber, Roberts worked as fast as he could. The aliens were terrified, watching through the window as Baker fought off creatures that seemed to come straight from their nightmares. The oxygen levels in their chamber were dropping dangerously low. "Third suit sealed and ready," Roberts announced. "But we've got another problem. The chamber's structural integrity is failing. We've got maybe 10 minutes before it breaks apart." Baker ducked as one of the creatures swung a clawed limb at his head. The blow missed him but tore through the corridor's wall like it was paper. The oxygen-rich atmosphere had made these predators incredibly strong. "Get them moving," Baker ordered. "I'll clear a path to the exit." Roberts began helping the suited aliens out of the chamber while Baker kept the predators distracted. The aliens moved awkwardly in their suits, unused to walking in what they considered toxic conditions. "This way," Baker called, leading them down a side corridor. He had memorized the ship's layout, knowing they needed the shortest possible route to safety. More crashes echoed through the ship. The predators were breaking in through multiple points now, drawn by the movement and sense of their prey. The whole ship groaned under the assault, its damaged structure slowly giving way. "Chambers failing," Roberts shouted from behind. "We need to get the others out now." Baker made a quick decision. He pulled out an emergency flare from his pack, something they'd brought for signaling but never expected to use as a weapon. The oxygen-rich atmosphere would make it burn incredibly bright. "Everyone, close your eyes," he warned, then ignited the flare. The burst of light was blinding, far more intense than it would have been on Earth. The predators reeled back, their sensitive eyes unable to handle the glare. "Move, move, move," Baker ordered. Roberts led the suited aliens toward the exit, while Baker kept the flare burning, creating a barrier of light between them and the predators. The remaining aliens in the chamber were growing desperate as their air supply dwindled. "Captain," Wells' voice came through the comm. "The backup ship's prepped and ready, but we're seeing more predators heading your way. The whole forest is alive with them." The flare was burning out fast, twice as quick in the high oxygen environment. They had only moments before the predators would recover. "Roberts, get these ones to the ship," Baker ordered, tossing his last stun charges to his teammate. "I'm going back for the others." "Sir, that's suicide," Roberts protested. "Just be ready to move when we come out." Baker ran back through the corridors, hearing the predators recovering behind him. He reached the main chamber just as its walls began to crack. The remaining aliens inside were gasping now, their recycled air almost gone. Time seemed to slow as Baker looked at the failing chamber, the approaching predators, and the precious few minutes they had left. He had one last suit, 6 aliens who needed rescue, and a ship full of monsters between them and safety. But if there was one thing humans were good at, it was beating impossible odds. After all, they had evolved on a world that the rest of the galaxy considered uninhabitable. Now it was time to prove why. Baker stared at the remaining 6 aliens in the failing chamber, his mind racing. The last suit wouldn't save them all. Then he noticed something. The emergency oxygen tanks scattered around the chamber's floor, each about the size of a small fire extinguisher. "Dr. Green," Baker called through the comm. "Those tanks, how long can your people hold their breath?" "About 3 minutes in these conditions," Green replied weakly. "Why?" Baker smiled. "Because we're going to run." He broke into the chamber as its walls cracked further. Working quickly, he helped the aliens strap emergency oxygen tanks to their backs. These wouldn't provide a proper atmospheric mix like the suits, but they would give enough pure, low-oxygen air for a short sprint. When I say go, everyone takes a deep breath from their tank and runs. Don't stop, don't look back. I'll be right behind you. The sound of approaching predators grew louder. Baker could hear them systematically searching each corridor, learning the ship's layout. These weren't just animals. They were intelligent hunters. "Ready?" Baker positioned himself at the chamber door. The aliens nodded, their large eyes showing both fear and trust. Now, they burst out of the chamber just as it finally collapsed. Baker took the rear, watching in amazement as the aliens ran faster than he expected. Their bodies, evolved for lower oxygen environments, were actually more efficient at using what little oxygen they had. A predator appeared ahead, blocking their path. Baker raised his last flare, but before he could light it, something unexpected happened. Turner and Wells appeared from a side corridor, carrying makeshift torches made from ship debris. "Thought you could use some help, Captain," Wells shouted, waving his torch at the creature. The predator backed away from the flames, giving their group space to pass. They ran through the ship's broken corridors, the aliens taking quick breaths from their tanks when needed. More predators appeared, but the combined light from multiple torches kept them at bay. The oxygen-rich atmosphere that made the creatures so strong also made them extremely wary of fire. "Almost there," Turner called out. Through a massive hole in the ship's hull, Baker could see their backup vessel waiting in a small clearing. Roberts stood at its entrance, providing cover with the stun charges. But then one of the aliens stumbled, their oxygen tank running low. Baker didn't hesitate. He scooped them up and ran faster, his Earth-evolved muscles and lungs working overtime in the oxygen-rich air. What would have exhausted him on Earth felt almost easy here. They reached the backup ship with seconds to spare. The aliens practically fell inside, gasping as the ship's filtered air filled their lungs. Baker was the last one in, sealing the door just as the largest predator he'd seen yet emerged from the forest. "Everyone accounted for?" he asked, catching his breath. Turner checked her scanner. "All present and stable, sir, though I don't think anyone's going to believe this back at the council." As their ship lifted off, leaving the blue world behind, Dr. Green approached Baker. The alien scientist had removed his protective gear now that they were in a controlled environment. "We need to revise our understanding of your species," Green said thoughtfully. "We thought your ability to breathe high oxygen levels was your only adaptation. But it's more than that. Your entire biology, your strength, your endurance, your quick thinking under pressure, it all comes from evolving on a world we considered impossible to inhabit." Baker watched through the viewport as B-447 shrank behind them. "We never thought we were special. This is just normal for us." "That's exactly what makes you extraordinary," Green replied. "What we see as extreme survival skills, you see as everyday life. The Council will need to reconsider many things about humans." Wells, running system checks at his station, laughed. "Wait until they hear about our extreme sports. Imagine trying to explain skydiving to them." The journey back was filled with discussions about human capabilities. The aliens were fascinated by every detail of Earth life, from simple exercises to complex rescue operations. Everything they had taken for granted about their deadly world was becoming a source of wonder to their new galactic neighbors. As they approached the council station, Baker received a priority message. More distress calls were coming in from other high-oxygen worlds. Apparently, they weren't done proving what humans could do. "Well," he said to his team, "looks like we've just created a whole new job market for humanity." 3 months after the B-447 rescue, the United Nations Space Command headquarters looked very different. The once quiet building now buzzed with activity as aliens from across the galaxy came to learn about Earth and its inhabitants. Captain Baker stood at the front of a large training room, facing a group of new human recruits for the newly formed Galactic Rescue Corps. Behind him, a massive screen showed images of different high-oxygen worlds. "Welcome to your first day of training," he began, looking at the eager faces before him. "Each of you was selected because you showed exceptional abilities in emergency response, physical endurance, and quick thinking. These skills, combined with our natural adaptations, make us uniquely qualified for our new role in the galaxy." In the back of the room, Turner and Wells were helping Roberts set up training equipment. They had all become instructors after their successful mission, teaching other humans how to handle rescue operations on high-oxygen planets. "As you can see," Baker continued, pointing to the screen, "there are over 300 known worlds with oxygen levels similar to or higher than Earth's. Until now, these planets were considered too dangerous for most species to explore or colonize." He clicked to the next slide, showing the predators they had encountered on B-447. Several recruits leaned forward, fascinated by the creatures. "These worlds have developed unique life forms, evolved in oxygen-rich environments just like us. They're stronger, faster, and often more intelligent than similar species on low-oxygen planets. But thanks to our own evolutionary history, we can operate in these environments safely." Dr. Green, who had become Earth's primary liaison with the Galactic Council, entered the room. The alien scientist no longer needed a protective suit. The building had special sections maintained at lower oxygen levels for visiting aliens. "Captain," Green called out, "the Council has approved the establishment of 15 new rescue stations on high-oxygen worlds. They're requesting human crews for all of them." Baker nodded. "Looks like you'll all be getting practical experience sooner than expected." One of the recruits raised her hand. "Sir, I heard that some alien scientists are studying our sports and exercise methods. Is that true?" "Yes," Baker replied with a smile. "They're particularly interested in how we build strength and endurance in our toxic atmosphere. Mountain climbing, marathon running, activities we consider recreational are helping them understand how we've adapted to our environment." Wells stepped forward, carrying what looked like modified diving equipment. "We're also developing new technologies. These are hybrid breathing systems that let other species safely operate in our atmosphere for short periods. They're based on what we learned during the B-447 rescue." The room's main door opened, and Representative Gray entered, wearing one of the new breathing systems. The alien diplomat moved comfortably despite the high oxygen levels around him. "I bring news from the Council," Gray announced. "We've officially reclassified all high-oxygen worlds from deadly to human-compatible. Your species has opened up a whole new frontier for galactic exploration." Baker watched as his recruits absorbed this information. Humanity had gone from being seen as primitive Deathworlders to essential allies in just a few months. "There's more," Gray continued. "Several species have requested permission to establish research stations on Earth. They want to study your adaptations, your technologies, and your methods of surviving in what we once thought was an impossible environment." Turner checked her tablet. "The first joint human-alien expedition to a high-oxygen world leaves next week. They're going to survey potential colony sites." Baker looked at his recruits. This is why your training is so important. We're not just rescue specialists anymore. We're pioneers. Humanity's unique abilities have given us a crucial role in galactic society. As he finished the briefing, Baker thought about how much had changed. Earth, once classified as a deadly backwater, was now a center for galactic cooperation and advancement. Their weakness, evolving on a high-oxygen world, had turned out to be their greatest strength. Outside the training room's windows, the sun was setting over the new alien embassy buildings. Construction crews were already working on the next phase, a massive joint species research center where humans and aliens would work together to unlock the secrets of adaptation and survival. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. What one species considers impossible might be another species' normal day. And sometimes, the most incredible abilities come from the most unexpected places, like a small blue planet that everyone else had written off as a deadly world.